There is a price must be paid when it turns cool in the summer, and we will get to that. But first, check this out. Thunderstorms approaching my house. Turn right. No, turn left. There they go, right around Cold Rain's house. It's just the way it goes here sometimes. It seems like it almost always happens. We were fortunate the other night to pick up some rain, but I guess if you're traveling along with the thunderstorm, it's going left and then it turns right. Things in weather, much like things in life, are a matter of perspective, and we talk about life here and we talk about weather here, primarily weather, but occasionally I'll help you out by giving you a couple of life lessons, and perspective is one of those things that we need to keep in mind. Things sometimes aren't quite as bad as they seem when we keep the proper perspective. Relationships, communication, seeing something from the other person's perspective, situation at work, good job, bad job, things that you're doing. All of that is a matter of perspective, folks. And when we peruse social media, we see a lot of people posting certain things. Maybe we agree, maybe we don't, but it is good sometimes to look at things from the other person's perspective to help us understand one another a little bit better and get along better and show grace to each other. And that all helps us. Perspective taking is important. And certainly keeping the weather in perspective is important. I'm going to get into the weather. We've got some things to talk about. We've got severe weather that's out there, folks. We're going to look at the severe weather threat. We're going to take a look at your weekend. We've got tornadoes, hail, high winds, yet again, over and over and over. We're talking about severe weather, and we're going to continue to do so. We've got flooding rains to talk about, and that brings me to a point that I want to hit on real quick. I was watching my friend Mitch West yesterday doing a great job on his video. He brought up a point about floods and floods being around for a long time in the media, kind of exploiting the situation with all the flooding that's been going on. I think we've seen a tremendous amount of video and heard a tremendous amount of commentary on social media, on regular media, and mainstream media about how many the death tolls and the flooding and the images and all of that stuff, really harping on it. And you can take a lot of different perspectives on it. Some people hit the conspiracy theory route right away. Some people think global warming is going to kill us all. And I think we need to keep a perspective on all of that stuff and understand that the weather has changed always through the course of time. And we've always seen floods. As a matter of fact, this day in weather history, you're going to see it crawl across the screen here in a few minutes. And it talks about a flood that happened back in the 1800s. So lots of flooding has always happened, and we need to keep that in mind. Flooding will continue to happen. It happens a lot during the summertime. There's just been a lot of these big events recently that have caught our attention. So keep that in perspective, folks, when you start to hear people talk about these things in a different type of a context, like a world-ending context or conspiracy theory context, or this has never happened before context. Things have happened like this before. And now that we're in an age of social media, it all seems like it's the worst thing ever when it happens. And for people that are impacted, it is, and we need to keep that perspective in mind too. Over 120 people have now, I think, been confirmed dead from the floods in Texas. And the families of these people, their lives have been changed, and we need to remember that and be sensitive to that and think about that first and foremost when all of these things happen. We've seen a lot of flooding around the area. We're going to see a little bit more of that over the coming days as thunderstorms produce torrential rain in a very, very, very moist and unstable air mass, folks. So we're going to go ahead and get into some stuff here. I wanted to show you one more thing real quick. Double rainbow. Taylor Sapp, one of my friends, took this picture out of Wake Forest, which is near Raleigh, North Carolina, and beautiful double rainbow here. I took this picture. Check this one out. I got this one yesterday. These power lines got in my way, but look at this big foot coming out of the bottom of this thunderstorm. This was the thunderstorm approaching me, and then this little section over here where all the big rain is just died out and formed over here. That's what happens in the summertime, and you have to be under one of these to get the big rain, and you might miss it just to the east or just to the west, and that happened to me yesterday. But I thought this was a neat picture. I finally took a good picture, and so that's what we've got. But now we're going to get into this severe weather outlook. We're going to take a look in a few minutes at your weekend forecast, take a look at the beaches, see what's going on if you're heading out to the beach, and we're going to wrap up by taking a look at, oh my goodness, the European, what is it doing? Showing us wintertime in the summer. We're going to get into that too as we take a look at the long range. We're going to wrap up with the solar, space weather rather, and geologic update. But we're going to start right here, right now with the severe weather outlook. All right, long intro. Sorry about that, but wanted to say a couple of things right off the bat. Thanks to Mitch for pointing all of that out yesterday. Severe weather is in the picture every single day, and it will continue to be so for a while, but it will get shunted off to the east as we go through the weekend. Right now, we're looking at severe possibilities from really up here around Lake Michigan, either side of Lake Michigan, down toward South Bend, in toward Chicago, back in toward Des Moines and northern Missouri here, folks. We're looking at a potential for tornadoes. Even got a little slight risk back here where the intersection of Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado meet for potential large hail damaging winds out here later. Tornadoes are going to be a threat, a little bit bigger of a threat up here in the southeastern Iowa, northern Illinois area, but really anywhere from southern and western Wisconsin back into northern Missouri, we could see tornadoes this afternoon. We've got a boundary that's set up here. We've seen this boundary. It's been basically in this area. We've seen little thunderstorm clusters move along it, lay down an outflow boundary, and it's sort of reinforced with a stationary front as well. And as we lose some of the cloud cover associated with the rain that's out there this morning, we'll start to see differential heating boundaries. That boundary will become a better focus, and you get a little bit more spin along boundaries. And so we're looking at a potential for tornadoes today. High winds and hail, the primary threats. Really, though, marginal risk from Minnesota all the way back in through the front range of the Rockies, down through the panhandle of Texas, eastern New Mexico, back up into southern Wisconsin. Anybody in this area could see severe thunderstorms, high winds, and hail being the main threat. We've got a little bit better lapse rates here in the west than we do out east, and so going to see a potential for some hail production here, but isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorms anywhere in the green. Potentially you could see thunderstorm activity this afternoon. Same again for tomorrow. Slight risk though shifts into Wisconsin, or sorry, that's not Wisconsin, that's Michigan, eastern Michigan. Okay, so eastern Michigan and down into the northern portions of Indiana and Ohio, and really marginal risk from the Great Lakes region down to West Texas and eastern New Mexico, isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorms possible along a frontal boundary, and that corridor. Upper level energy swinging through the Great Lakes is going to provide a little bit better chance of organization. No slight risk so far for interior Northeast down through northern Texas for Sunday, but we'll keep our eyes on that. We may see that, a frontal boundary swinging through. Not a lot of upper level wind support or mid-level wind support, so really not looking at anything widespread in nature here, but could see a couple of better pockets where thunderstorms could develop and merge together and form line segments and clusters as we go out through the weekend. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Satellite picture this morning. Here's that low pressure, maybe a mesoscale convective vortex, just an area of vorticity spin in the atmosphere. Those tend to cause lift and have wind energy associated with those, or spin in the atmosphere, and that helps to generate thunderstorms. Got a lot of cloud cover this morning from dying complex thunderstorms. There's our frontal boundary. New activity coming in with a new reinforcing trough through the Dakotas, and then cloud cover through the southeast up into the northeast today. West coast looking nice and clear. Frontal boundary this morning. Here's our surface map for today. So we've got a frontal boundary extending from a low pressure. That frontal boundary extends back to North Texas. There is your severe weather threat and heavy rain threat too. We're going to take a look at that. But we're going to see plenty of thunderstorm activity, and some of these thunderstorms are going to produce torrential rain. Got a boundary extending all the way up to the northern Great Lakes into just north of the Northeast as well. Taking a look here at the surface, look at this. So you can see a couple things that's going to help our severe threat come together over Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois this afternoon. Got this spin in the atmosphere. See that show up really well here on the windy map. This is surface winds, and so you've got winds coming out of the south. You can kind of see those little streamlines here coming out of the south at the surface, okay? So pay attention to that. Now, we're going to go over here, leave that on the screen, and we're going to go over here. Whoa, let's take it off the screen because it's in the wrong place, but we'll put it back out of the south in this area. So see, here's winds out of the south right here, pretty much. And here's our little spin back here in Nebraska. Now, as we take a look at this map, watch this. Got a little piece of energy right here, and you've got winds coming in the mid-levels from this direction. So you see how it kind of spins as you go up into the atmosphere turns. That's why we have a tornado threat here today, folks. And so we're going to see some lift. We've got plenty of instability. We're not going to look at that. We spent time on that yesterday. You can go back and look at it in yesterday's video. Another reinforcing trough coming in this afternoon. Watch this, what happens. This trough starts to dampen out and weaken as we go through the afternoon and evening hours. We get on into to Friday evening. When this is going to make its way, dampen out, make its way to the east. Here comes the reinforcing trough. It's going to capture it eventually, but as we get in tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, we start to see all of that energy translate up into the Great Lakes, and that's why we have a threat for tomorrow, eastern Michigan and south, just basically south down here into northeastern Indiana and northwestern Ohio. Okay, so that's where our main focus is going to be, near this wind energy that's coming in, providing divergence aloft, wind aloft, and we're going to see thunderstorm development there. Tornado, there is a possibility of tornadoes with supercells developing this afternoon. Look here in Iowa and northern Missouri, we start to see our supercell composite come together. Anything over 1, we need to look out for supercells. We see 1s, 2s, and 3s showing up in here as we get through the afternoon in Iowa. That's going to be our primary target area. That's why the SPC's kind of highlighted this area here for tornadoes. And so potential for supercells. Eventually supercells are going to merge into clusters and we're going to see a wind threat materialize. But if we get discrete supercells, watch out up here in Iowa, Missouri, and working into Illinois for potential tornado development this afternoon. And that all kind of works out as we lose the heating of the day. Here's what the radar is potentially going to look like this afternoon. Just because you see a cell over your house doesn't mean you're going to see a thunderstorm. The radar doesn't know exactly where to put thunderstorm cells, but generally speaking, as we get on into mid-afternoon, 1, 2 o'clock, we're starting to see thunderstorms break out over Iowa. We've got a complex moving in toward Minnesota as well. Maybe some wind up here, marginal risk, remember that. And then down here, boom, look at this. Supercells breaking out over northern Missouri back into Iowa. And then if they can remain discrete for a period of time, we'll see tornadoes potentially along this area. But it looks like things start to go linear and multicellular and clustery pretty quickly, and you see thunderstorms breaking out all the way back to Front Range of the Rockies, southeast, up into Michigan, Wisconsin. Got a little bit of a bow looking like it's trying to form here. So as we get on into 7, 8 o'clock, we're seeing plenty of thunderstorm activity, and it's going to just, merge together and form a line. Eventually, we're going to see the clusters out here in Kansas and Wyoming and Colorado, Texas, Nebraska, move on off to the east as we get on into the evening hours overnight. Some of this activity back west will hold together, but lose its intensity, and everything kind of out east will diminish. And we'll repeat that again tomorrow afternoon. Just this focus is going to be farther east. If we take a look kind of at a bigger, broader view of this, we'll see how this breaks out. So this afternoon, there's our activity back over here that we're really focusing on, where the main threat is. Plenty of showers and thunderstorms to the south and east, but we're not going to see as big a coverage tomorrow as we saw today. And then tomorrow afternoon, we start to get into mid-afternoon again, push through the morning hours. Instability builds back up. Wind energy aloft up here in the lakes. We start to see thunderstorms fire up in our threat area here in eastern Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. That's where we're looking at for severe weather tomorrow, and in terms of the main threat. But we're going to see scattered activity all across the southeast. There's our frontal zone. That's going to be a better focus for showers and thunderstorms. So where we find that better focus, we may see a brief period of linear activity that gives us a better wind threat. So watch out for high winds with some of these storms as we go through the weekend. As we get on into Sunday, fronts pushing east, so we're going to see that severe weather threat push east, and general showers and thunderstorms are going to push east too. So we may see a line come into Sunday evening, working through the interior sections of the Northeast, down the Alps, into the Mid-Atlantic region, and over Florida, back into the South. So that's what it looks like. We're kind of getting into the weekend forecast a little bit, folks, but certainly could see some of that activity hold together up here with better energy in the interior Northeast through Sunday evening. And in the overnight hours, our frontal zone is kind of lit up. Everything back out to the west, we go back out a little bit. We'll see a few scattered thunderstorms out here, but not anything too major, folks. That's the severe weather threat. Just watch out in the Iowa and Minnesota regions this afternoon into Illinois, and pay attention to severe weather alerts, and watch out for tornadoes in those areas that we looked at. And then as we go through the rest of the weekend, everything will kind of shift east, frontal zone shifts east, and we're going to see that moisture get shunted off to the south and east. Now we're going to take a look at that weekend forecast. Before we get to that weekend forecast, we're going to continue our moon theme, and I'm teaching you about full moons. And we've looked at several full moons and what they're called over the past few shows. You can go back and check out those. But today, the question is, the second full moon that occurs during a calendar month is called what? A blue moon, Cosmos moon, Moondu, or Remoon? If you know the answer, type it in the comments. If you don't, just hang out into the show. I'm going to reveal it to you, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on with the moon, all right? So now we're going to take a look at that weekend forecast. Well, I hope you have big plans this weekend. Go out to the beach, have people over for a barbecue, cook out, play a little cornhole in the backyard. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to dodge some showers and thunderstorms potentially in the eastern portions of the country and basically eastern half, and that'll slide on east. And we've got some beach weather to look at here in a minute. We'll see how the beaches are faring as we go through the weekend. Going to be hot out west, though. We see on our alert map plenty of heat advisories. Heat index values are going to be over 100 degrees. And but look at this up here in northern Minnesota. Wildfire smoke is coming in as that front moves through. It's going to blast in some wildfire smoke. Bad air up here. So if you're sensitive to that, stay indoors. We'll look at the air quality map here in a sec. Flash flood watches are up for that cluster of thunderstorms that we expect later today with some training. A couple of inches could fall, several inches could fall rapidly with thunderstorms in here in this section of Iowa back into northern Illinois, and so watch out up here. Everybody else looking nice and clear from an alert standpoint. The map has certainly died down from previous days. Windy conditions developing through the Rocky Mountains this afternoon could gust into the 30s, where maybe even close to 40, where you see these green areas here. It's kind of died down a bit on the west coast. 20s everywhere else, not too bad in the east. Air quality horrific up here in northern Minnesota. Look at this purple. This is the first time I've seen purple on this map in a long time. But as that front moves through, wildfire smoke's going to blast in from Canada. They have not put those wildfires out. They're still burning up there, of course, and this will persist for a couple of days. So pay attention out here. Everybody else south and east looking good. Las Vegas, Los Angeles, up to Fresno, Sacramento could see some air quality issues up there. If you're sensitive, stay inside, folks, and stay out of it. Don't exert yourself outside. Temperatures through the weekend today, pleasant up here in Maine, up in the northeast, not so humid and cool. Cool in the northern plains behind that front. Was baking out here a few days ago. Now we were in the 70s, so not too bad. 80s across the north into the Great Lakes. 90s as we get on into the south and southeast and plains. We're seeing mid to upper 90s, hundreds in the desert southwest. Phoenix, you're looking at 110, probably approaching 115 or upwards of that. In Death Valley, San Joaquin Valley in the hundreds again. And as we look on out into Saturday, warming up in the Pacific Northwest. Interior sections could be approaching 100, still hundreds here in the southwest. Portion of the country, 90s and mid-90s, warming up in the southeast, 90s working into the Great Lakes, warming up a little bit in the northeast with 80s and 80s in the plains. And then as we get on to Sunday, everybody just continues to warm. 80s in the northeast, mid-90s to the south, 90s surging into the upper 90s, surging into the upper plains, and hundreds approaching 100 degrees near Spokane and places like that in interior northwest. And still hot out here. No relief for the weary, or no rest for the weary when it comes to heat out here. Looking at the precipitation, so if we're planning to do something outdoors, no real widespread storms that we're worried about creating big areas of rain, but thunderstorms are going to be possible. Severe thunderstorms, flash flooding where the rain comes down heavily, and it will in spots. But looking at Saturday afternoon, you're seeing that front light up as we get on into Saturday afternoon. Basically northern plains back to the western third of the nation looking good from an outdoor standpoint. Just hot everywhere east of the northern plains. Mississippi River going to be watching out for showers and thunderstorms that will mostly dissipate through the evening hours, although a few clusters in Texas and up into the north may hold together as we get into Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and we're going to repeat that, but we're looking at a little bit farther east. So showers and thunderstorms back from northern Texas through the mid-Mississippi Valley, the Ohio Valley, approaching the northeast. As we get on into Sunday evening hours, those thunderstorms will continue to build and then eventually dissipate as we move in toward the overnight hours. So Dodging showers and thunderstorms is going to be the name of the game in the southeast. Keep your weather radar handy and keep an eye to the sky. You can see those clouds start to build in the afternoon. If you're out here, when you've got a big front, you can check the radar and see showers and thunderstorms moving towards you and get a good idea of what's going on. But in a pop-up environment like we've been in, very moist, unstable environment, outflows kick off things. You'll see showers come up and they'll move, and then they'll switch directions rapidly like I showed you earlier on the radar. That's what happens. And so you have to keep an eye to the sky, and you'll see the clouds go, the showers go away, and then you'll look up in the sky, and all of a sudden you'll start to see little dark clouds kind of getting darker and darker and darker, and they'll kind of merge together. That's when you know the thunderstorm's building in your area. So keep an eye to the sky, watch that, watch out for that. Taking a look here at the beaches real quick, you can go to the site, weather.gov/beach, up and down, click these umbrellas. I've already done that. We're going to take a quick tour here starting in Atlantic City. Looking pretty good if you're heading out to Atlantic City. The water's going to be chilly in the upper 60s. Saturday, Sunday, mid 80s. No chance of rain. Moderate chance of rip currents, though. Heading down south, you're going to Virginia Beach maybe. Water and temperature a little bit better in the mid 70s. Not much of a chance of rain Saturday. Highs in the mid 80s Saturday, Sunday. But a slight chance of thunderstorms working in on Sunday. Boy, you get on down farther than that. Going to Wrightsville Beach in North Carolina, 50% chance of showers Sunday and Saturday, both 84 degrees, mid 80s, and the water temperature in the mid 70s. Looking a little farther down into Daytona Beach, maybe going down to Florida. Well, hey, 91 on Saturday, 92 on Sunday, with a better chance of thunderstorms each afternoon. So you're going to have to pay attention there. Moderate risk of rip currents. Water temperature, fantastic in the mid 80s. A little farther south, same story in Miami Beach, upper 80s. Temperature in the upper 80s out there in the water, and chance of thunderstorms. And one more stop here in Fort Walton in the Panhandle of Florida. Saturday and Sunday, a small chance of showers. Temperatures in the 90s, water temperature in the mid 80s. That is your weekend and beach forecast. I hope you have fun doing whatever you do. Now we're going to take a look at the long range and see what kind of fun the European model is throwing our way. Now, as we head on into next week and beyond, a little bit of model discrepancy coming in way on down the line in terms of what later on in July might look like, but we're going to start here with the operational European model. I like to use operational models within maybe 5 days or so. Then when you get beyond that, I like to use ensembles. I think that makes more sense, and I think that reduces a little bit risk of forecast error. The operational sometimes are fun to look at, and the European has offered us such fun solution today. By the way, tropics, I haven't really touched on that. That's because nothing's going on in the tropics. Maybe see a little bit of activity in the Gulf with some spin coming in and producing showers and thunderstorms, but no model is really latching onto anything there. Tropical Prediction Center, I keep calling it that. It's the National Hurricane Center now. They have no advisories or expect no development in the next 7 days, so nothing to look at there. But look at this. We get on out into Monday morning, ridging on the west coast, ridging on the east coast. That's what these big bright orange blobs look like. This is a trough of low pressure up here in the mid Canada area and up toward the North Pole, and that's what we're looking at. Big wide view here. So watch what happens as we go on through the week. Ridging builds out west, ridging continues over the north. And look at that trough, little piece of energy coming in. Energy goes top of the troughs. In the summertime, jet stream works across northern Canada, stays to the north. In the wintertime, it kind of dips into the south and all of that. So that's sort of the general gist of the pattern. But watch this. As we get on out in toward Thursday of next week, a little piece of energy coming in, probably going to have a severe threat or worry about a severe threat as that happens midweek next week. Warm on both coasts, a little cooler across the center of the country, and we'll see that reflected in the 6 to 10 day in a minute. But look at this. As we get on out in time, this is next Saturday, next weekend. Look what happens as we get on into early the following week. Boom! Big ridge goes up here in the west, sending a big blob of blue in toward the United States, the Great Lakes. That almost looks like a polar vortex in the wintertime. And what does that mean? Well, it means really warm temperatures along the west coast and dry, blocking it. Nothing can get in out here. But look at this big plunge of cold air down into the center of the country. And the price that we will pay if this turns out to be the case is that I can almost guarantee you if a big blob of cold air impinges on a big air mass of warm, moist, unstable air, we're going to see a big severe weather outbreak somewhere. I doubt this solution comes into play or turns out to be the case. But Look at that, man. What a big blob of cold air, or in the upper levels, big trough working in, big upper level low. Wow. Look at that. Just spins around. We get on out here into Saturday the 26th. Big trough in the east. That would be very, very pleasant after any severe weather move through. Dry temperatures or dry air mass, it would dry out, it would feel good. Temperatures well below normal. Big ridge up out west. You guys are baking out there. Looking at the temperatures, look at this. So as we get on out to that time frame, we're going to see a little bit in the way of a trough come in, produce some cooler than normal temperatures into the northern plains. That drops into the Midwest. But here, look at this. As we get on out, here it comes. Boom! And there is our Rainmaker. Rainmaker is a weather map that is an anomalous, weird, crazy, outlandish map that one of the models puts out. From time to time we see those. We'll see a lot of those in the wintertime. But this is the Rainmaker, folks. European, courtesy of the European. I'm surprised the European's doing this to us. It's usually the GFS that does this. And look at that, big cold up in the northern plains. We're talking 15 to 20 degrees below normal. That spills on in, and we just get a nice end to July if this is the case, and the European is right here. The GFS, let's see what the GFS says. Okay, so here comes the GFS mid next week, late into next weekend, and well, wait a minute. Uh-oh. Nope. Big ridge instead. A little bit of trough in the east, a little signal for it, but not so much, says the GFS. Hold your horses, not so fast. Well, folks, I like to use the EPS, which is the European Ensemble Suite, and to get an idea of what really might happen. So what we're going to do is rely on this. We go out through mid next week, good signal for a little troughing coming in and providing a severe weather threat across the north. Then we get kind of a ridge building in across the south. That ridge once again retrogrades back into the southeast as we get on out toward the end of July here, sets up another trough in the east. I said it retrogrades to the east. It's retrograding out to the west. Actually, you can see the big ridge here. Right there. There it is, center of the ridge. Retrograding back out west. Hot weather for the west coast, dry for the west, northwest flow events. Pieces of energy coming down in the northwest flow will provide showers and storms through the Great Lakes. Temperature is going to be a little cooler here, even though there's orange. The trough is going to keep us from baking in the east. So normal to maybe slightly either side of normal, and unsettled potentially with this trough in as we get on out. The GFS generally agrees with that. I'll show you. See? Got the ridge out here and the trough out here. This is again way far out in time, but there's good agreement across the ensemble suites. The Weather Prediction Center, the 6 to 10 day from July the 16th through the 20th, quite a large signal for below normal temperatures in the middle of the country, above on both coasts, mixed in Alaska but near normal, and above in Hawaii. And looking at the precipitation output, hey, still wet signal across the south and less so across the north. We've still got drought in these areas out here, and all of that. So that's what I wanted to show you in the long range, folks. Going to see plenty of rain over the next 3 days. I didn't show you this. I'm going to go back in here and do this because I wanted to show you this. This is the rapid refresh through Sunday. Okay. Let me go back in here. I'll make it through Sunday evening, and you can see the precipitation totals through Sunday evening. Really, really high here from Iowa, where we have the flash flood watches, up into southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, and also back through Oklahoma. So those, and maybe a batch or two up in New York, looking at spots of 6 to 8 inches of rain. The model does not know where to put the heaviest thunderstorms in the batches where you're going to see 6 to 8 inches of rain versus 2 to 4 inches of rain. Just notice the thing that you need to be aware of is anywhere in this footprint here, you might not see 8 inches of rain. 5 miles down the road might see 8 inches of rain. But know that you could see flooding, and you could have some thunderstorms dump rain very, very quickly. So really pay attention in these areas. We've seen what flash flooding can do, and we're going to see more flash flooding throughout the summertime. But watch out for those areas over the next 3 days for flash flooding. Now we're going to wrap things up with space weather and geological outlook. Well, all is calm on the space weather and geological front, folks. Well, almost. Right here we have one of the 5 biggest coronal holes ever observed turning directly toward the Earth. This enhances solar wind and could potentially create geomagnetic storm conditions, probably on the low end, but we're going to watch it. Could potentially play a role in some earthquake activity too, but that's what we've got going on with the sun. Sunspots, not a lot of them. Incoming region is fairly big, though not all that complex. You see positive, then negative, then positive. You need to see several areas of interspersing charges to really gain complexity and run the risk of a big solar flare. So we're not seeing that, but we'll watch it. Aurora viewing, really not much in the way of that until we start to see geomagnetic activity. Earthquakes, not a lot going on the earthquake front. A couple of minor shakes around here, not much, except for a small earthquake swarm continuing off the coast of Japan. Not really sure, south of Japan. Not sure what that's about, but it's continuing, and therefore we're going to keep watching it. What is not continuing, it appears, is the earthquake activity at Mount Rainier. We had the biggest swarm since 2009, and I think there was about 1,000 earthquakes back then or something like that. We've seen the 300 or so here, minor quakes, and nothing within the last 2 hours. In the last 2 days, a couple days ago, we were seeing a lot of that. So that's not going on, nothing on the volcanic front. If you missed the buck moon yesterday, you still have a chance to see most of the new moon. Moon's coming up tonight at 9:46. Next new moon is on July the 24th, but we are at 99.4%. It is a waning gibbous moon, and look at this. We are chopping daylight off both sides of the day, folks. Morning and night, we're chopping about a minute or two off every day, and it will continue to accelerate as we get on toward the equinox and into that region, folks. So, hey, fall's coming. And because fall is coming, Christmas is coming. And we're going to take a look at the Christmas clock here in a second. There's your day and night map. Before we do, though, I've got to answer today's WeatherIQ question. And here's the answer to the question. I'm going to read the question first. The second full moon that occurs during a calendar month is called what? Blue moon, cosmos moon, a moon doux, or re-moon? And the answer is, probably guessed it, blue moon. It occurs occasionally. You get 2 full moons in a month. The second is called a blue moon. Cosmos moon, of course, was from the 1987 movie called Moonstruck. And I'll have to admit that the wife made me watch this movie. I was not excited about it, but it's actually a pretty good movie. So don't tell anyone. But that is what that is from. I don't know what the next 2 are. I just made those up. So there you go, folks. Christmas is coming. It's only 166 days and change away. Looking forward to that. I'll have a good Christmas movie recommendation for you next week. In the meantime, if you're looking for Christmas in July and looking for something to see there, let's see if we can do a different display. There it is. Michael W. Smith has several Christmas albums out. This isn't my favorite. It's my second favorite. It's called It's a Wonderful Christmas. You should get it and listen to it. It's great. Christmas time is my favorite, and that only gets listened to at Christmas. But that is it for today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a long show, I know, but hey, had a lot to cover. Won't be doing a long show over the next couple of days. Probably do something short. But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for tuning in. As always, this is Cold Rain reminding you other stations run 24/7. We got you covered right here, right now, 4814. Take it easy, folks. Happy Friday.